Hello everyone, hope you're well. This is CoinsKid, just going to announce XRP. Once again, thank you for your support, okay? Big of the CoinsKid crew. So I'm not a pen bear, pen bull, whatever, but I always like to react and respect structure in the charts, okay? And we may have found a chart that's done exactly what I actually expected in this market for XRP. And all the other charts are lying, basically. So I'll take a look at that chart with you. I've already relayed this to the CoinsKid crew. But one of the things that's got me spooked, obviously, is the wick. The wick that we saw last week on Friday that's took out that 190 low for me. It is obviously, it's just me respecting the structure. I hope you understand that, because the thing I was looking at with XRP was this pullback, and then going to Q4, Q1 of 2026 and a massive move, basically a Q4 blow off top, and then the cycle's done. This is what I've been looking at for a very long time with yourselves. So that scam wick on Friday has actually broken the structure of an expanding leading diagonal, but not on this chart. Okay, so is this chart the king of the charts? I'll show you it, because this has been my primary outlook for a very long time, and it would basically debunk the theory, okay, XRP is going to continue to roll over here because of the scam wick, leading us down the 5 waves down path, which I've relayed to you in recent times. So basically, off the bat, what I'm looking at for XRP, and I've been looking at this for quite a while with yourselves. On the daily, we've got the descending triangle, and we're coming down. I anticipated a drop into where literally we are right now for XRP, for anyone paying attention. Then we'd coil up, and then we would create a reversal pattern just here, and then we would have a Q4 finish, okay? Because, so all of this has been a corrective move into the spring. We had the 1 into the 2, into the 3, the pullback 4 that came into this God candle back test. It was going to hold it and then go. Now, there is a chart that's done exactly that, which was my primary anticipation. So is it a case, that all this here is basically bullshit? I would love to tell you, F the wick, it's throw out the window, but I have to respect it. And if you've been in the channel for a very long time, structure for me is paramount. So the fact that we've lost that load there on that wick obviously is concerning for me. But one of you was kind enough to point me in the direction of a chart which has not lost a wick, and it's doing exactly what I anticipated. What I anticipated, for anyone that's been with the channel for a very long time, tuning in, I anticipated a back test of that God candle back test, hold it as support, and then go again into Q4, because my primary has been this for a very long time with yourselves, that we would do something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, expanding leading diagonal because you broke below wave 1, and then boom, Q4 finish. And it gives us a beautiful neckline, a trend line to respect and adhere to, because at that point we've got a sell point for XRP, because we've got a neckline of resistance that we can say, okay, well, when we tag that, we exit. And this has been my primary for a very long time, for anyone that's been paying attention, is up there somewhere around about the $7 to $8 target, that from this low, this is your correction in, the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, that never lost this wave 2 low and then goes. But on this chart, I can't look at that. I can't evaluate that as a certainty, with confidence going forward, which is pretty much what I did way back here in 2023 off this floor, because we did exactly the same thing. The 1, the 2, the 3, the pullback 4 that lost the wave 1 high, and then boom, the final 5th wave. We was looking at this expanding leading diagonal in that particular scenario as well. Even going back in time, if we take a look, this was an expanding leading diagonal. This impulse off this low was exactly the same thing that finished the bull run off, and the big impulse for XRP in April of 2021. It was the same scenario: the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4 that lost the wave 1 high, and then the final 5th was basically a neckline of resistance coming up like this. Boom, look at that, resistance, resistance, resistance. Tagged it, sell it, see you later. So this has been my primary for a very, very long time. Since I've come back off holiday, I've been looking at this scenario where we're getting this descending triangle, this flash crash down, where we hold this wave 2 low, and then we blow off into Q4. So because of the wick on Friday, it's actually spooked me, because obviously, the validation of this expanding leading diagonal value wave rules, for anyone that knows, is you cannot lose wave 2. You can fall into the, the highs of wave 1, do something like this. But if you lose wave 2, you lose the setup. So I'm just respecting the structure. However, there is a chart right now that's doing exactly what I expected. So, should I throw this chart in the bin? I would love to tell you I'm going to do that, but I have to respect what, in this chart that I track. It's basically XRP crypto. It's the index. It has lost its wave 2 low, so it's concerning. So I'm looking for more clues right now that, the Q4 finish, the setup that I've been looking at with yourselves for a very long time right now is about to play, game, basically. It is about to happen. If it is, this will be my sell point. So it really is simple. From this point, if XRP can coil up and create, basically an ascending triangle, which I relayed to you for a very long time, under this resistance of roughly 272, create a reversal pattern just there, start to coil up, and if it starts to break out and takes out that high just there, which is roughly 326, we're up here, and that's where I'll sell XRP. And this was, you know, some kind of scam before, you know, the big breakout into Q4, which has been my, you know, theory for a very long time. So, you know, I'm caught basically because of the wick and the structure and the loss of the wave 2 low. It has got me scratching my head basically, but there is a chart that's done exactly what I thought it would do. So let's take a look at that chart right now before we continue with the video, okay? So the chart in question is the Gemini chart. So to get that, go to TradingView, XRP USD, and it's the spot crypto Gemini chart. So Gemini, I think, is an exchange that was founded by the Winklevoss brothers. Is that how you say it? The two twins. The Facebook movie, if you ever watched that, The Social Network, amazing movie. They basically won a load of money off Facebook because Mark Zuckerberg ripped them off or something, and they took all that money and they bought loads of Bitcoin around about 2013, I think it was. So they got loads of Bitcoin, and I think they've started this exchange Gemini. Personally, I've never used it. But, you know, look at that. It basically done exactly what I anticipated. You got this descending triangle, come down, capitulate towards the end, you flash crash, and at that point, you know, you get your bids in down here on the neckline, you coil up in an ascending triangle under this resistance, and then, you know, you break bull into Q4. So this chart is quite exciting because it's playing out exactly as anticipated, but all the other charts that do track, it's not. It's lost its low to negate, you know, you basically you're expanding linear diagonal. So is this chart the truth? I hope it is, because in time, if this does coil up as anticipated, you know, you coil up and you get this ascending triangle and you start to break bull and you start to take off, boom, this is the chart. We'll just pay attention to Gemini, and I'll actually start using Gemini because we don't see the scam wick. But, you know, going forward, let's keep an eye on the Gemini chart. So again, I'll remind you to get it into your charts, XRP USD. The ticker is that, and obviously it's spot crypto Gemini. I would love to, this is the king of the charts right now, because this will be a 1, 2, 3, 4 that's lost this wave 1 high. You've got your expanding leading diagonal setup, you've got your neckline, you've come back down, you've got this support, you're coiling up, and then you break bull into Q4. So is there any other confidence that potential finish? Well, there may be a little bit of confidence in something we've seen from the king of the altcoins. So I'll show you exactly what it is, and there may be another little bit of confidence in the Bitcoin dominance that this is exactly what we're about to see as well. Okay, so let's take a look at the charts right now and see what we can see. So Ethereum is the king of the altcoins, and, you know, anyone that's been paying attention, we've been nailing this on Ethereum. So one thing I'm looking at is if we can do something in this particular chart. Okay, we've got your nice little move into Q4, Q1 of 2026. You know, we've got a nice little vertical, which is basically what we experienced just here for Ethereum. So there's a lot of confluence in basically what I've taught you over the years is basically that I think that's the top, that's an impulsive wave top. And what we experienced for Ethereum here, as in most charts, was a bull trap. Okay, so we experienced it for, you know, the likes of XRP and so on and so forth, where they came up and made a lower high in 2021. I'll drop the XRP chart in right now, okay, so you can see. So lots of confluence, that was an impulsive wave top, okay, and I relayed that to you. Okay, so you got your big sort of joint macro impulsive move there for XRP and Bitcoin, XRP and Ethereum, sorry. So what we did experience, if you take a look, was really simple. Ethereum came out in a three wave move to the upside, and XRP made the lower high. So this was a bull trap. So at this point, when we started to roll and we lost a 20-week MA, my projection was down. And what I was looking at, for anyone paying attention, was a bid zone with you. It was an ABC zigzag correction from the high to the low. It was a 1.618 Fibonacci extension, around about $908, which is where I was bidding, okay, and I was relaying that till I was blue in the face because you lost a 20 EMA at that point, okay, so you was looking at the zigzag, an A, B, C zigzag. So this is where we were bidding. Equally, for anyone paying attention to the updates in recent times, once we broke below the 20-week EMA here as well, this is where we was max bidding. And I said to you, this is where I'm buying Ethereum. I'm not buying Ethereum here or here or here, okay, because you're taking on risk. I was buying Ethereum here, and I relayed that to you. Equally, in recent times, I've created something called the CoinsKid Index that presents a macro buy and sell signal. So up here, we was getting sell signals for Ethereum, and I was relaying that to you on the macro. So, you know, if you're buying Ethereum there, you're doing it wrong. This is something I relay to you because you're taking on risk, the same risk that may be, you know, presenting just there. So with Ethereum, what it's done in recent times, like I said to you, I think that that's the all-time high because we've got all this resistance just there for Ethereum. There's lots of confidence that that was a bull trap, okay, and it's in the charts within itself. So resistance, 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 resistance. Finally, we've took out the resistance. So we're looking to come back into the resistance and the BMS and not break down below it like we did there. If we break down below it, we're going to be bidding down there at the 1.618 because this will be a move, this will be retracement, and this will be a A into a B into a C. Again, once more, and we've been max bidding at the 1.618. So it's not done it just yet. But again, if we do start to break down below the BMS, this is exactly where we are. You know, this is your high, this is your low. You'll be down there at the 1.618 max bidding for Ethereum. But we've not lost the BMS, and we're clinging on right now because obviously what we're looking at is a potential alt season with a Bitcoin dominance. So like I said to you in the recent Ethereum video, what I'm looking at is Ethereum breaking out of this range and falling back to the BMS and this range and previous resistance as support for the next leg up. If we see that, fantastic. You know, I won't exit my Ethereum, but if we do start to break down below the, you know, the BMS and we turn it into resistance like we did there, we have to project down here in the 1.618. Because for them, anyone that's been paying attention in this spring right here, what I was looking at is this retracement. Once it lost this low and broke down below the BMS, I was max bidding on the 1.618. Because I said to you, I think this is an ABC. This is an A, this is a B, this is a C. 1.618, max bid, beautiful. Just there, A, B, C, 1.618, max bid, beautiful. So it is all about the BMS, okay? The BMS, your bull market support, which I've created for yourself, it's basically the 20-week EMA and the 55-week EMA in a nice little visual band right there, okay? So I respect that, and for over the years, anyone that's been paying attention, you know, this is a massive macro indicator that I look at. You know, the 20-week and the 55-week EMA are boss, basically. Get them in your charts, you begin to break down, you've got to change, you know, your direction is changing, you've got to have, you know, no bias to the upside, you've got to project down, and this is exactly what I was doing. Just there, you're breaking down, and this is exactly what I was doing, okay? So with this particular chart right now, we've broken the range, the resistance right now, technically, it's holding a support, so we want to see that. If it breaks down below the BMS, you know, you where you were there and you where you were there, you're breaking down. At that point, you have to project down, and we will look at the 1.618 in time. Let's say, for example, okay, we've entered some kind of big macro correction. We're not going to get this, you know, back test of support before continuation to the upside, which is currently still on the table because of another chart that I'm about to show you, okay? If we do start to break down below the BMS and turn it into resistance, sorry, you know, you where you were there and you where you were there, you're losing support. At that point, where is the 1.618? So we can target that, you know, and that will be a buyback zone. The max bid zone for me for Ethereum will be roughly around about here, $630 to $631. Now, I'm not saying Ethereum is going to go there right now, but if we do start to break down below the BMS, then that will be a projected target for me, okay, of a potential ABC zigzag, where this has been a bull trap, okay, for Ethereum. It's possible that it does it, but, you know, I'm looking for clues that it's going to do it. And one of the clues will be if you start to turn this previous resistance that's now holding as support, look at that. If it starts to turn into resistance, you start to lose the BMS. Okay, Ethereum could potentially be projection down to the 1.618, where I'll be max bidding basically, you know, for Ethereum. But let's not look at that. Let's ignore that right now. Let's say that that's not going to happen, okay? Because obviously we're not, you know, creating the increased probability of it because we're not losing this resistance. And turn it into resistance once more. We're not losing its support, and we're not losing the BMS. So this is why I created these indicators for you, because they give us guide, you know, to the future of these cryptocurrencies. So basically, we've broke out, we're falling back to the support. If we coil up here and hold the BMS, we should be in another finish. We should be in a Q4 finish, which is pretty much what we got here in the previous cycle. So if I drop a horizontal line in for Ethereum, what we did in the previous cycle, that was your 2017, 2018 bull market top. You broke out, you fell back to this neckline, which is your previous local high as support, and then you went in a final push to the upside, which lasted from February to roughly May. So a few months, 3 or 4 months, you know, and that was it. It was over. So over the next few months, we could be in for something quite similar, providing we don't break down below the BMS. This is why it's really important. Pay attention to the BMS, because if we do start to coil up here and we go, we're exactly where we were there. Okay, so is there anything else in another chart that tells us this is exactly where we are? We've broken the range, fell back to support, broken the range, fell back to support, into the BMS before your big push into your top, basically, into your positive wave top. Well, there is, because something that happened just there in that box is happening again just here for Ethereum, you know, in the charts. It's the breakdown of the Bitcoin dominance. Let's take a look at that right now. So again, keep an eye on the Ethereum chart. It holds all the clues. This is why I'm keeping an eye on it for you, because it is the king of altcoins. If it breaks down, okay, you know, XRP is going to break down. If it holds its support and starts to go again, wow, exciting times into Q4 of this year, and obviously Q1 as well, 2026. Let's take a look at the Bitcoin dominance right now. So quickly, before I do dive into the Bitcoin dominance chart, I just want to show you the lower time frames for Ethereum. Now, this is a really important chart. There is a God candle backtest just there. Look at that slam bang. That's where we've ran into for Ethereum. So, you know, you support there. You melted through it in a God candle breakdown. And this is exactly where you retraced into. These God candle backtests are amazing. You know, get them into your charts. Just there, we have another one. So there's two scenarios I'm looking at for Ethereum, okay? One is really bullish and one obviously is macro bearish. It will be a retracement, an ABC coming back up into that God candle backtest around about 3639 before, you know, the drop to the downside, where you lose this neckline as support and obviously your BMS. But what Ethereum's doing right now technically is really nice. What we've done, we've come into the BMS, you know, the top end of the BMS, which is basically a 20-week EMA, you found a nice little support and you're rallying up in 5 waves. If you take a look, we may have seen a nice little impulse here off this low, some kind of 1, into a 2, into a 3, into a 4, into a 5. So that could be the first impulsive move, which is quite nice, to be honest with you. Off this low, if you take a look, that's a whopping 23% impulsive wave 1 as a potential scenario. And what you're going through right now for Ethereum is a retracement, slam bang on the God candle backtest. You ran into it, some kind of A, into a B, into a drop C, possibly into this God candle backtest below. So we'll take a look at that right now. Look, you've got that resistance there, resistance there, resistance there. You've melted through that in a massive breakout, and you could be looking for that in some kind of A, B, C zigzag correction before another move to this 639, which is this God candle backtest just there. You got support, melted through it, and you've never backtested it. So there's 2 scenarios. Either we've got an impulsive wave 1, ABC wave 2, vertical third wave, or we've got an A into a B into a C, then the drop. Okay, so this is why we've got to pay attention to Ethereum. But what we're doing right now, you know, is technically really nice. We've come back down into the BMS, which is your 20-week EMA, and this level here, which is your previous resistance for many years, and you sort of come back to it, and you're currently holding it as support in a potential first impulsive wave. So we're going through some kind of ABC, coming back to this low, we trace into that. If we can hold it, fantastic. We'll build up, you know, positions, and then boom, we break bull. And this would be a level of resistance going forward, around about 639. We take that out, wow, Ethereum's going vertical, okay, in a big Q4 finish. So this is why it's really important to pay attention to Ethereum. So technically, off this high right now, we're running to this God candle backtest. We are currently retracing a 5-wave move up that looks like this, okay, some kind of 1 into a 2, into a 3, into a 4, into a 5, and right now you possibly some kind of ABC coming back. So we can't afford to lose the 1 fib at 3502, because obviously if we do start to do that, you're coming down to the low end of the BMS with a potential to lose it, and then you're losing all this resistance of 4k, which is previous resistance that now you're looking to turn in support, and I've relayed that earlier in the video. So all eyes on Ethereum. This is quite a nice move, you know, it's an exciting move. And then obviously with the Gemini chart as well, it's going to be a little bit more excited, you know, potentially we've got this Q4 finish. And obviously there's one other chart which could be adding confidence to that right now. It's the Bitcoin dominance. So all eyes on Ethereum. I'll keep you updated as best as I can, and we'll keep an eye on the lower time frames as well, okay? Let's dive into the Bitcoin dominance chart, see what we can see. The Bitcoin dominance chart is really important. You know, for example, we've got this nice neckline, haven't we? We're coming up, coming up, coming up. Last year we identified an opportunity in XRP for that big vertical. It's pretty much identified here with this resistance dropping to the bottom of the ribbon. Then as we come up, we identified an opportunity in the spring for Ethereum to have that big move, and we got exactly that, and we got the drop in the Bitcoin dominance. So going forward, there is a chance, okay, there is a slight chance that we're doing exactly what we've done before. We've got this breakdown in dominance, exactly like we did there. We print a red sell dot, exactly like we did there. Okay, that was 2021, that was February, March of 2021, and I've already shown you what happened with Ethereum in that time frame. You know, earlier in the video, where Ethereum broke out in February 2021, it backtested that all-time high support, and then it went again. Okay, and it's doing exactly the same thing here. It's broken out that all-time high, it's falling back to its support, and it's looking to go again. Right on cue with a red sell dot, right on cue with a red sell dot. So we've got, you know, 2 data points right there. Ethereum breaking out backtesting, Ethereum breaking out backtesting. You know, the red sell dot where you got the resistance of the 5-day ribbon on the Bitcoin dominance chart, and you got the same scenario happening again. You know, what happened there? Well, you know, at that time frame, you know, everything was in the floor. I think XRP went for a 40% crash and correction, and then boom, we got a precursor, we got a warning shot. Okay, if you're, you know, expecting a crash and a pullback in a bear market right now, you're doing it in the wrong period. It should come, the bear market projection and a pullback should come once you get this drop in the Bitcoin dominance, which is something we've not seen yet. We saw a slight drop here, but if we are rinse repeat on Crypto Street, and we're relying on data on this channel, which is what we do, then, you know, Ethereum is telling us right now, be careful. Don't sell into this fear. Don't sell into this, you know, wick or anything like that. Be careful, because, you know, what we could be experiencing, we could be right on the cusp of a major vertical across the charts, and especially for Ethereum. So with that, you'll be expecting a waterfall in a Bitcoin dominance that, you know, basically lasted from the red sell dot, that was March. And as you're aware, you know, most altcoins topped in May. So you're looking at March, April, May, you know, a couple of months. So from here right now, we've got a red sell dot, which is basically happening in October. I relayed that to you. And then, you know, you're looking at, you know, December, you know, it could be over, which is your Q4 finish, which would be absolutely amazing. So it is all about the data. Let's pay attention to the data. If we don't do what we did there, we start to break above, we start to hold a support, and we don't break down like what we did there, then your Q4 finish, your alt season is off the table. At that point, you would imagine that XRP is breaking down, and Ethereum is breaking down. It's losing its BMS, losing its 4K support as well. But currently, it's not. And I'm respecting that. We broke down in the Bitcoin dominance. We back tested that resistance. We broke down in the Bitcoin dominance. We back tested this resistance. We may have seen some kind of scam wick on Friday, where a lot of people have been shaken out right before the vertical in the charts, which would be absolutely amazing. So keep an eye on both of these charts going forward, okay? The Bitcoin dominance chart and obviously the Ethereum chart, because we are getting a rinse repeat scenario of the data point that happened just there. If you take a look, move to the left, we've got this beautiful move where at the same time Ethereum were breaking out, pulling back before the big vertical, and then you drop in the altcoin dominance chart, Bitcoin dominance chart, sorry, which led to that big vertical because of the rotation into Ethereum, okay? And just there as well, you got a very similar scenario as you're printing the red tail dot. As you print a red tail dot, you got your pullback into the previous all-time high, into the previous all-time on that time frame as well. And right now we're just looking at that. If we can hold this support at this previous pivot high, the 4K level for Ethereum, and we start to go again, then boom, you've got your waterfall in the Bitcoin dominance, you've got your waterfall in the Bitcoin dominance, and that's your alt season into Q4. So I hope it happens. Obviously, hope's a dangerous word, but the two data points that I'm looking at, regardless of the scam wick right now, are telling us that that's a potential scenario. So I'm looking for invalidation in both charts. The invalidation is simple: Ethereum losing the 4K and the BMS, and obviously the Bitcoin dominance breaking above its 5-day resistance on the ribbon right there. Really simple, okay? So get that indicated into your charts. Go to CoinsKid.com and follow the process. Let me take a quick look at the crypto blocks right now, because yesterday was a beautiful little trade on Tron that's playing out, and see if we can find another trade, okay? So yesterday I did show you in the video, I've updated this particular section, the block section for you on CoinsKid.com. To get it, just go to CoinsKid.com, go to the futures blocks. Really simple. I'm adding more coins and more systems, and obviously notifications as well. You do have a little alert system here, so basically anything that goes into extreme fear for the time zone that's selected, it will alert you. And obviously extreme greed, I just have those two zones selected at the moment. Now on the daily, we don't really see much other than the fact that this coin's pumping. We've got a coin down here that's pumping as well, so you could entertain short opportunities on those. And we've got this coin that's dropping into extreme fear right now, so that could be a nice little spot or long opportunity for yourself on the daily time frame. But what I like to do on the channel is micro time frame trade review. So we've got another little indicator here, a filter basically that you can flip between micro, day and macro. So on the micro yesterday I did show you, Tron was big white block basically, so this is why it was brought to my attention and why I was looking at the trade on that. Right now you can clearly see it's gone from here to here. It's quite overextended, it's getting quite a bit greedy on the micro time frame. Remember, this is micro time frame trading, 15-minute time frame, okay? So that was a nice little trade yesterday. I'll show you that in the video. So basically the trade was simple. It was a big white block. We was in extreme fear, and what we've got is a nice little bull div down here. We're making lower lows in the index, high lows in the MACD just there, and obviously high lows in the RSI, and look at that nice little reaction that's coming up the stairs right now. So Tron has been one of the first coins to feel that wick, so all eyes on Tron, because I think it is a great project. It is a massive project. I know it's used a lot in Dubai. I didn't know that until I went to Dubai, so it's being used a lot. So I think this is why it's done so well over the years basically. So all eyes on Tron. It's reacted positively so far, and it's bouncing, and that was a nice little trade that I presented to you yesterday just using the crypto blocks. So going down the list on the micro, we've got a short on this coin, we've got a short on that coin. Do we have any longs? Not at the moment. We don't have anything that's in extreme fear. And again, okay, just set up your alerts and it'll alert you once you're on the page with the time frame that you're looking at. So again, look at the macro going forward for XRP, currently in a state of neutral. We've got this coin here on the macro, ZEC, that's screaming short me. We need to take a look at that particular project right now. It's taken off in space. I wouldn't necessarily be looking to short that straight away. What I'd be looking to do is just be patient on this. So it's on my radar, add it to my favorites list, just do that in the top left corner so you can keep an eye on it. And basically getting really extended, what I'm looking for is some kind of pullback, then another high. This is a pullback, then a lower high. We create a bearish divergence just there, okay? Once we see that on the macro, I think we've got a massive short on this particular chart that comes back into that range there. It'll be a huge short and make a lot of money short in this particular project, but not yet, okay? We need to see the pivot point and the bearish divergence print in the chart on the macro, but it's been brought to my attention right now, and this is why I've added it to my favorites. ZEC, it's a massive red block. Equal to this one here, this is getting quite greedy, and the size of the block represents how deep into that zone the coin actually is, okay? So again, you can just isolate all the neutral coins, okay? Because obviously the neutral coins, they tell us a story as well, but we can't see them with the other blocks because obviously the colors have to be neutral. So we can just isolate the neutral blocks, and this is what create for yourself. So just click the neutral blocks and you can see, you know, what zones are they, you know, basically steering towards. So at the moment we've got Ethereum, which is neutral but steering towards optimism. So there's still a lot of optimism around Ethereum on the macro time frame, which is really important. On the weekly time frame, there's still optimism in Ethereum. At the moment there's a bit of worry because obviously it's in neutral, drifting to worry, it's going green, but it's kind of just getting its foot in that zone, okay? So it's not completely fearful at the moment. So this just represents on neutral, on your crypto blocks, the state of the coin within the neutral territory, within the neutral zone, okay? So again, I'll just keep updating this best I can. So I hope you're enjoying the updates. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and obviously get involved with the CoinsKid VIP because you get all these beautiful indicators and sections to play with it. Back soon with another update on XRP. Stay up, stay strong, stay tuned. Bye bye.